All right, welcome to Mountain Movers. This is episode 6. We are live. Well, we're not really live. We're just on site at the ISE Expo in Kansas City. And we have with us, if you can't tell already, what we call affectionately the Milwaukee Boys. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
My name's Dan Shirey. I'm from Philadelphia, PA. I'm the National Account Manager for Communications.
Hey guys, Steve Sarnasinski. I'm our SVP of Utility and the Communications team. Just want to say thanks to Brett and John for having us on this morning.
And yes, if you don't know already, this is Brett Bowles. He is the president of WKW, and I'm John Zwart. I am the marketing director with WKW. And even though we only live about 20 minutes from these guys, we found it was easier to fly a few hundred miles than do it here. But we're excited to have these guys share a little bit about who they are, what they like to do, some of their past, and just some amazing things that they are doing in the telecommunications market with tools. And Brett, why don't you take it from here and maybe just talk a little bit about what you see or what you've seen missing in the market as far as tools go, and how Milwaukee, from your perspective, has helped fill that gap.
Yeah, so I think one way to start is where we started. We've been technically working with Milwaukee since about 2014, and we were really trying to fill a couple of gaps with products that were already in existence, but not really designed for the telecommunication or power utility market, for that matter. We were connected through a mutual friend at that point with Tim Spino, and we were able to get a couple of M12 products approved and at Verizon anyway, and just sort of kind of lost steam, and then all of a sudden there was a resurgence in energy and really a focus, right, in marketplace. And Milwaukee really went after the power utility market in a strong way, which dovetails really nicely into the communications market where we've lived, where WKW has lived. So it's been an awesome journey to watch and be a part of as Milwaukee has put a ton of energy, resources. I know we'll talk at some point about the investment that they're making in the United States. Just really, really cool to be a part of, and the fact that we've had the opportunity to not only work with Steve and Dan, but become friends with Steve and Dan over the years has been amazing. And so I think we have found, to answer your question, we found that buying all kinds of different tools from all kinds of different manufacturers to fit a certain need for this specific task or that specific task has not been efficient. It's not been a great way to buy for our customers, and that's really the hole that Milwaukee has plugged, is creating tools across the entire set of anything that a technician in the broadband space may need. They've plugged that hole in a huge way and build a battery platform that is truly second to none.
For me, looking back at the journey that we've had with WKW and in the broadband space has been pretty incredible when I think about it. My team right now, we have a team of 50 plus people throughout the country that focuses specifically on utilities, utility contractors, co-ops, municipalities, and whatnot. And when we got started with WKW in this space, that team didn't exist. We had a hyper focus for Milwaukee within mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and that is where our core focus was as an organization. Everything that we did was to own that user from the time they woke up in the morning to the time they went to bed. And an opportunity presented itself as we started to look at the utility space with a tier one provider, where we just never really even focused on the space, right? We didn't know a thing about it. And it's awesome to look back to think about how much we've learned since 2017, since we got involved with WKW about this space. And we have a model at Milwaukee, where we need to excel in our current core focus in order to invest into the future and other avenues of the business. And that's what our success with this space has really helped us with. And we've added a couple of resources with Dan and Ian to dedicate ourselves to this space, to understand it, help commercialize our products where they fit, make sure that we're dedicated to the industry, right? We're here at ISE Expo, and that's really what Dan's responsibilities are, is to understand where we can fit in the space and where we need to be, so we are where our users are. So anyway, when I think back, I know Brett and I talk about it all the time. We really got an opportunity with one tool, with one customer. We were fortunate enough to win that, RFP, let's say. And from then on, it's just been a journey of learning. And, it's things they write about in business school when I really think about it, right? Is like just getting that one opportunity and where can you take it?
So give us a big picture, if you could, just in like a couple sentences. So you had really one tool, and where are you guys at now in this industry?
Yeah, I think the fun thing is, and it's a big responsibility for me and Dan and Ian, is to understand where we fit. We have a hyper focus on utility in Milwaukee, and for us, that works in the outside plant world, right? For the broadband and communication sides of things, where we have tools that we've developed for linemen in the utility high voltage trade that correspond directly to this trade. On the other side of things, we have a business unit at Milwaukee that started back in 2011 with a core, 10 plus tools in our hand tool line. That is easily our fastest growing piece of the business. If you can see in the camera, we have pack out surrounding us, and we have some tools that fit, the fiber splicers that fit in the copper space for this. So it's been fun to not only have those tools that fit because of where we are in other industries, but also getting that new product development focus from an internal buy-in at Milwaukee Tool to continue to take share and learn and drive disruptive innovation in the space.
Yeah, and I was going to say, where we fit in our dedication is really just the end user. And it's learning from them, going out to their yards, their facilities, taking it a step further and grabbing knowledge from them, because that's where you're going to get the best research and development. I mean, we can do all the R&D up at our facility in Brookfield, but we're going to learn so much by being on the job, understanding their day in, day out basis, and where they have frustrations. And you'll see on the truck behind us is everything was built from the ground up by utilizing and going out to the job site, visiting with end users. And that's where we see our biggest success.
And I think, too, that the great experience for, obviously we have the user dedication, and that's what Dan and Ian are going out there working with our product team to understand. But we also have the great folks at WKW who are really experts in the industry that we get to learn from. The guys like Steve Zornberg, right? The guys like Carl Bowles, Brett, everyone that's on this team. We wouldn't be where we're at right now in communications without having those guys that have been in the field. They've done the work. They can give us their perspective of frustration points, and then we can go out and validate with the users that are currently in the field to say, hey, we got some feedback, from the WKW team, guys who used to be in the field. Is this still accurate? And we can drive, NPD and innovation from that perspective. So that's probably a long-winded version of where we're at right now.
Yeah, I love it.
But it's hard to really explain it because it's been such
it's a journey.
But also just we're just holding on right now, right?
Yeah.
Because we do think there's still so much opportunity in this space to drive innovation and partner with the users. And we're not synonymous with the broadband space. Like Milwaukee, everyone knows Milwaukee, right? You go into Home Depot, you see our brand, but when we started showing up to some shows like ISE, they were like, what are you guys doing here? Mm-hmm. And it's been fun, 4 years later to say,
what do you offer?
Yeah, we
have a whole line of PPE, which you'll see over there, that they obviously use, hand tools, as you mentioned, the drill combo kit, but we have so much more and so much more to learn too.
So there's a lot of tools. I mean, going back to Dan's point, there's a lot of tools out there that just fit, right? Mm-hmm. They fit because they fit for anybody who's working with certain fasteners or certain products. But you're also now at a point where you're not making products in hopes that it will fit in this market.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
You're taking feedback from the customer, and you mentioned hyper-focus, right? You're taking feedback from the customer. You're helping develop tools alongside the customer to not only perform a lot of times with one of the coolest parts I think about Milwaukee is that when you guys design something, it's usually not one-dimensional. It's multi-dimensional. So you're developing tools that not only fit and fill one task, but oftentimes fit 2 or 3 in the same tool, and that's pretty awesome.
And I think that's been the fun thing for us internally. Obviously fun, but challenging, where we develop a tool, we know it fits in a certain industry, but how do you commercialize it in each segment of our business? And that's been, as we've grown, I think I heard Steve, our president, say the other day, when right around when I started, we had 201 people at the corporate office. Now we're 10,000 global. It's absolutely crazy. So, we've just been growing so fast and getting into different segments. Like, and to your point, when we develop a tool, it may be developed for one industry, but we have an opportunity to commercialize. And that's really where Dan and Ian and I come in, working with you guys to see exactly where it fits.
Just we are not professional podcasters. So just a couple things for us. This table is really.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No,
I get pretty passionate sometimes.
No, I love it.
We're not professional podcasters.
No, well, we're not. You guys might be. I don't know.
I'd say the spectators walking through are also not professional podcast spectators.
Or walkers.
With no clue as to what's happening. So we just had our picture taken.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Nice.
So
we typically have a nice, big, thick, wooden tables that help that, but these are the plastic ones.
I do want to say one thing, which I think is cool that Brett and John are doing. Sorry, I'll try not to hit this table anymore. Brett and I talked about this probably a year ago or so, but when I, coming up through my life and even at Milwaukee, like, this space was very foreign to me. And that's why I think you guys starting this podcast is a really great opportunity to educate a lot of the people that may not be as familiar with this space. Like, we all take this space extremely for granted, right? Like, our cell phones and just the basic, normal things of life that this industry gives us. So I just want to say kudos to you guys. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool to drive some awareness around some of the brands that are in the space about what's happening in this space and where it's going.
And I'll second that as well, because you got a lot of knowledge under the WKW associations, and this industry is just changing yearly.
Yeah,
whereas we're in other verticals where there's not a ton of change, right? Your electrical is pretty steady, your power utility is pretty steady. This is, we went from 4G to 5G, we're going on 6G, and it's changing just rapidly.
Yeah.
So to try to keep up is.
You need it too. Last night I thought was a perfect example. We were in a densely populated location last night, and you were basically unable to send text messages out because it was so crowded. The bandwidth just couldn't keep up. And that goes to show you that this industry needs to continue to grow and develop. And we're looking at areas like where we sit today in Kansas City that are well served. But the next wave I think we're going to see is this rural broadband build. And as it changes and grows and the need for density and bandwidth continues, I believe we'll stay relevant for a long, long time. So it's cool that we've had the opportunity to get this relationship started 7-8 years ago at this point. So, for us as our, we all know this is fun, right? This is an opportunity just to talk a little bit about the industry, create awareness, but also get to know you guys a little bit. So, you both have been charged with growing, as we talked about, an industry segment that we do at times take for granted. We all want to be able to stream our shows or our sports. And here we sit. Now, that's a big task. It's a big ask for a couple of people to do. And obviously, we love the partnership. But I guess one at a time, take a minute or two to tell the listeners, your background and what your background has provided you from skill sets that have helped you build the team that you have today. So, Steve, if you want to You want
Boy,
to start?
I get to go first.
Well, I can.
You said a couple minutes. You guys know I'm not good at that.
That's all right.
So,
We got time. Just keep watching people walk in front of us.
So I landed at Milwaukee in an interesting way. So I grew up in Philly, similar to Dan and similar, I think, everybody at the table.
Yep.
Went to school out in central Pennsylvania. I did ROTC. I had the opportunity to be in the Army for active 4, guard 2. Got out of the Army in 2009, and not the best time to get a job. I was very fortunate to be connected with actually my college roommate's dad was a consultant for TTI, and at that time I was trying to get a job anywhere, to be honest, just to make some money coming out of the Army, and he hooked me up. TTI had just been acquired or Milwaukee Tool had just been acquired by TTI, and they started a leadership development program. So, coming out of the Army, junior officer, I thought I'd land, everyone comes out thinking they'd land a big gig and making big money, but I learned pretty quickly. And honestly, fortunately, I started as a field sales rep for Milwaukee, out and calling on Home Depots, and I've had the opportunity to take that field sales rep and really make a career out of it, and went from field sales rep to managed a team of folks that called on Home Depots, and from there went into our retail field sales team, which is like our hardware channel. So learned a ton there, just working with small businesses and working with the ACEs of the world and the co-ops. So really got to understand that business. From there, I had the opportunity to jump out to Hawaii, which was actually, when I say that out loud, it sounds extremely sexy, if you will. But for us, Milwaukee, I was I was literally the only rep on the islands. So you're a one-stop shop for everything. So I learned a ton about every operation, every logistics of shipping to Hawaii. I learned a ton just about the sell-in and sell-through, dedication to user, dedication to our distributors, because we don't sell direct. So I credit that position with where I learned the most. From there, I went and learned a little bit about e-com and a position in Vegas. From there, managed a team of our factory service centers, authorized service centers. Really got to learn the backside of our business and how we operate from a service operations standpoint. And then that started to where I started to learn, I'd say, the user. I got an opportunity in New York City to manage our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing team, 100% dedicated to the trades. And that's right around the time where I'd say Milwaukee started to take some major share. We invested in some technologies like fuel. We started to get into more trade-specific tools like cutting and crimping. And that's when I started to really understand the trade and what the opportunity was for Milwaukee. And when, our president or my boss, Bill Hughes, says owning it from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, I started to understand what that meant. When I joined the company, I thought it was all about drills and impacts, but that's not who we are. Anyway, from there, I got this opportunity. That's when Brett and I met, actually. So that was before we had a utility team. And that's when we first started to learn about the broadband industry. And from there, I got the opportunity with a counterpart of mine out on the West Coast, Jeremy Apodaca, to scale up the utility team and take it from, I'd say, a side hustle, if you will, to a dedicated trade for Milwaukee Tool. And I think if anyone knows Milwaukee in that space, they know that we have invested a ton, not only in people, but also in product. And so that experience was obviously great. And to this point, I jumped around a couple more times. I won't tell you guys my whole life story, but that led us to where we're at today. To be able to look at a space and understand it and put the right people in place, like a guy like Dan, and before Dan, Ryan Jewelrett, Nick Discola. We've always had great people in place in order to be able to take share and to understand the user and continue this journey forward into the future. So I'm going to keep hitting the table because I think it's great sound effects. Yeah,
great podcast.
But I mean, hopefully that, there's more to that story, obviously, but it's been I said this already, but it's been a blast. Like, when do you get the keys to a car and say, build the engine before you can start it. And same thing, like that's a saying at Milwaukee, we're building the plane as we're flying it. So that's been the most exciting part so far.
Yeah. All right. So on to me. Similar to Steven, I grew up in Langhorne, PA, a little town outside of Philadelphia. After that, went to college at Villanova to play football. Well, academics first.
Study and play football.
Academics first. Had a lot of ups and downs in my career, so came to Villanova, started as a true freshman. That year we won our national championship. After that,
What position did you play?
Punter.
Yeah, kicker. Left bench. No. Center and guard. I was a lot bigger back in the day. Mostly muscle, though, so all muscle. 310.
You have pictures to prove that?
I do.
Okay.
But had a lot of ups and downs. After winning a national championship the first year, then the second year we almost went back to back. We lost at Eastern Washington, and then that following year we went 2-9. So we reached the mountaintop. We had a lot of success, and then we were rock bottom after that. Had a lot of injuries that really kind of helped me, but also hurted me too, because you're on the sidelines and you want to be a performer and you want to be a leader. So I tore my Achilles going into my senior year, tore my shoulder up, tore my knee up. But all those kind of really taught me how to continue on the path of success and really work towards something that is bigger than yourself. And then coming out of college, I had my first career at the Sixers, selling tickets. And at that time, the Sixers were probably
Trust the process.
the worst in the league. So it was very hard to even give tickets away for free, to be completely honest. But at that position, I really learned that I didn't want to sit behind a desk. I didn't want to make cold calls and be that. Almost it was 7 to 6 just picking up the phone, right? I wanted to be customer face and be in front of people and showing just a great product. And at that time, I met a gentleman called Chase Fleming who still works for us. He's RM over our GC team in the Northeast, and met him at a Home Depot. Actually, I met him at a Wawa. He had a Milwaukee truck, and he was driving around. And I said, man, how do I get a job? I need to do something different. And then I got a job similar to Sarno over there, working in the Home Depot, helping push product, selling in the aisles. And that kind of really kick-started my career with Milwaukee. After that, I was a TR in Philadelphia and working with our plumbing and electrical accounts, really your mom and pop shops, and really understanding their business, because they're not selling millions of dollars. You're a lifeline to them. They might be doing $30,000 or $60,000 if it's a really good book of business, and you really learn that your response and your time is valued to them, it's so important. After that, I got the opportunity to jumpstart our power utility team and be one of the first reps in the Mid-Atlantic, and working from the Virginia all the way up to New York City, calling on IOUs, working with contractors. And the nice thing about the Northeast, it's kind of the mecca for utility. There's contractors all across the Philadelphia market, the Baltimore market, New Jersey. And I think that's kind of really what sparked this vertical with us, is not only the IOUs, but the contractor space too. After that, I was the key account manager, kind of just took over a bigger territory in the utility space. And then after that, I got the opportunity to start a new book of business for us, or a new vertical, which was our PPE and safety. And I moved up to New York City, and during COVID, this is when COVID struck, and I took the risk to move up there, and it was move up to the epicenter.
Great time to meet the New York.
Yeah.
Move to New York.
It was the epicenter of where COVID was, and once again, it kind of brought me back to the college football, right? I had a lot of ups and downs, and that's when COVID hit, and there was a lot of ups and downs in that process too. Even with our safety, we
Learned a ton.
We learned a ton, right?
Yeah.
We probably thought we knew everything, but we took a step back and we listened again. We listened to our customers as to what they want. And after the safety position, took on another role as a strategic account manager in New York City, where you're doing the sell-in, sell-out process, and being that leader of a massive market and kind of leading without authority helped me learn what a real leader was in an organization too. And then the next position is where I'm at right now in building this vertical. And we talk about it. There's so much potential here, and there's so much that we don't even really know either, which we're really excited to learn and also partner with you guys as well. So
I would add one thing, and hopefully Dan and I kind of alluded to it, but one thing that we do well at Milwaukee is put people in, drive cross-functional experience, right? And put us in positions before we may be ready to take that role. And, we always say in Milwaukee, for those listeners or whatever that don't know us, like, it's all about people and culture for us. I mentioned it once already about how we've been able to get established in this space, but the cool thing with us is if we see an opportunity, we trust that we have the right people in place to acknowledge that opportunity and then build a plan for what the opportunity is. And if we can prove that return on investment, we're going to get after it. And that's what's been fun about this space was we didn't know until we got introduced to you guys and we got that one shot with that one tool about where we could go. And then as we started diving deeper into the opportunity, to Dan's point, it's endless. And that's what we're mostly excited about. And I think, that's, you asked what gave us the opportunity to be able to build something like we have. It's really the culture that we have and that entrepreneurial type spirit at Milwaukee to understand something and go, right? Yeah. We're not a bureaucratic organization. We're gonna get after it. And that's the fun thing about it.
I think I've heard people refer to Milwaukee as a tech company that just happens to focus on tools, right? And when you have that mindset where you're willing to take a shot when you hear from a customer and solve a problem, you have no idea what other doors that may lead to. But it's a partnership, right? It's relational. It's not just transactional.
Yeah.
With Milwaukee, and that's been certainly fun to be a part of. Question: you both are now in leadership roles. I mean, you've been in a leadership role for a while. Dan is now in that same spot. You both have athletic backgrounds. You've got military background. My question, and I think I know the answer, but leaders, are they born or are they made?
Dan, you first.
I think that's a tricky question. I would say born. I've always looked at athletics as something I've just been good at. But I want to be something bigger. There's something that's in me that strives to be better. And I don't know if you can teach that. And I got a fire to be the best at everything I do. And as a leader, there's stuff that you can learn along the way that helps out, like listening and taking a step back and asking the correct questions and being there for someone. But at the end of the day, I think you just got to really want it, and you got to want to be successful. And I don't think you can teach that. So.
Okay, good answer. So, Steve, what do you think?
I think everyone is born with a piece of it in them, and in order for it to come true, it has to be harnessed in the right way. I think I'm just going to use myself as an example. When I was coming up, let's say even through athletics, I don't know if I was necessarily the leader, right? I mean, I was a good football player, played in college, but I actually wasn't our captain because I was more that lead by example. And, at that time, maybe the people around me didn't see that that's who I was. But it wasn't until I went into the military and I was surrounded by leaders and to really start to learn what it meant to lead, I guess, and how I could harness my skills. No one's the same, right? But how can you harness your skills and start to refine them and polish them based on the great leaders that you get to witness in the military? I did 2 tours in Iraq. Obviously, was put in some challenging situations, but it's funny. I was with one of our contractors yesterday, and we were talking about our battalion commanders. At my battalion commander, who is now Lieutenant General McKean. It wasn't until I met a guy who led with questions. He wasn't that big, overbearing, own the room, but he challenged every single person around him. And there was no favorites. It was all about how can I challenge the team around me and put the right people in the right place so that we can accomplish the mission that we have at hand. And so I think there was always part of it in me, but it wasn't harnessed until I got put around the right people and I saw what right leadership looks like. And that's where I got a passion for it for the rest of my career. For Dan and I, in Milwaukee, you start as an individual contributor, and you can be on that island by yourself. But for us, having that fire in the belly, we try to hire the right people that have that fire in the belly, that are self-starters, that can kick ass and be an individual contributor. The biggest challenge for us as we've grown, though, has been we have a lot of great individual contributors. When we put them into a leadership position, it's a complete transformation. That's usually one of the interview questions that I ask is like, hey, you've obviously proven you can do a good job as an individual. How can you now challenge your team to be as good as you were as the rep? And that's a hard transition for us. And that, but I think the way that I think I've grown at Milwaukee is being surrounded by the same type of people as Lieutenant General McKean, Bill Hughes, Steve Richman, Scott Tison, they do a great job of empowering you and eliminating that imposter syndrome that a lot of us feel. Is like, am I ready? Am I ready to lead a team of 50 plus people and, take it from 0 to 50 plus and, a couple $100 million business? So long story. I think everyone does have it in them when they're born, but I think depending on what your surroundings are and who the people you're exposed to and the leadership that you get through your career or through athletics, that shapes the person whether they want to be a leader or not. So that's, I guess, long-winded version, but I feel like it's a compassionate thing for me because every decision that I make every single day affects my team, and every single word that comes out of my mouth can be interpreted by one of those team members in a different way. So I try to take, the responsibility that I have. I have 7 direct reports. My goal, and Dan knows this, every single day my goal is to get them to the next level. It's not about me. Yeah, we need to drive revenue. Yeah, we need to drive bottom line. We need to drive disruptive innovation. But what am I doing to set my team up for success? And the only reason I have that mentality is because of the people that have done that for me. So I think we try to pass that on. And that's why the culture is strong at Milwaukee, is like, that's what it's all about for us. Like, if we continue growing, the team that we're surrounded with will continue to get more and more opportunities. And, we can end up at ISE 5 years after getting into the broadband space. So,
and for our listeners, if you're wondering what that high-pitched noise is, one of our other industry-leading partners is vacuuming their carpet before the show starts.
I wonder if they didn't cheap out like Dan and they got some cushion on their carpet.
It looks.
I'm just glad we're sitting right now.
No foam for me.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It's starting to get busy in here, right, Brett?
Yeah.
And so before we ask our final question, you guys like to golf.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a top 1 or 2 golf courses that you guys have gone to over the past few years?
I mean, there's so many good ones. We've been very fortunate to play some really good ones.
I don't know if I can mention what I played on the air.
For me, and luckily, Brett was there. I have to say, Kiowa Plantation course that had my first hole in one.
Oh wow!
And I'm not a good golfer, but it was pretty cool. I got the opportunity to go to the PGA Championship there. I guess it was the year prior. And I just kept thinking to myself, man, that course looks very, very hard. And it proved to be very, very hard. But I had one hole that I had that one shot that went in. So,
and I think right before you teed off, right before you teed off, I teed off, and I hit one of the best iron shots of my career. And I honestly thought for a second that could be the one for me because I do not have a hole in one. And sure enough, I mean, it was almost surreal when we heard that you had drained it. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Danny's going to say Pebble Beach.
I
see it.
I mean, it is a beautiful course, and I loved it. I might go a little bit softer and say anytime I'm playing golf is a great golf course.
The political answer.
And
the political answer.
It's all good up until
an
now.
endorsement from Kiowa. That's why
if you're golfing with great people, it's always a great day. So, but yeah, Pebble Beach was probably at the top of the list.
Well, I mean, truly, we thank you for.
Yeah, I feel like we could be here for 4 hours.
We totally could.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point when people aren't walking back and forth in front of the camera.
Well, maybe we can do a part 2 and then play golf.
Well,
there you go.
Actually, John was thinking maybe we could do a part 2 on the golf course.
While we're playing.
We'll set up some.
So
anyway,
just be careful.
There's a lot of.
He likes to shank the ball.
We'll just put like an explicit warning on it.
You actually have a little scar up there.
Scar.
Yeah, we won't mention that one.
Yeah.
Or who?
But
he might tune into this show just to see if we mentioned it.
Right.
The guy who did it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, we truly could talk, and we've got some really good stories, and love to get you back on here. But for now, I think we've got some really good information that we love to share with our listeners. It's really what makes you guys mountain movers. I mean, Milwaukee as a whole, it could be the company tagline, right? You guys truly move mountains for your customers, and that's really where it's focused. And I think that's so easy for people to lose sight of, right? I've had many conversations because honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. I love what both of you said, and I do believe that there is a born leadership quality inside of certain people. And maybe it's inside of many people. Maybe it just doesn't always get brought out because you're not put in the right system or the right situation to experience it. But as leaders, you're always asking people, challenging people, and trying to get the best out of everybody. And it's really what Milwaukee has done. I've had some conversation with some people about, remember, just don't forget that we're in this for the customer.
Yeah.
Because it's very quick. We can be very quick as a human to let our egos get in the way or let our pride get in the way. That's not why we do what we do, right? We do it because we want to be surrounded with great people. We want to help people grow an industry that we've all become very passionate about. So,
Can I say one thing to that quick? So I think that's part of the passion that drives us at Milwaukee is we don't look at ourselves as selling a commodity. We look at ourselves as developing solutions for the tradesperson to make their life better every single day, to get them home to their families, to keep them healthy, to reduce injuries. Like everything that I think that's what, coming out of the military, I'm like, I'm going to sell power tools. I didn't really know what it meant yet until, you develop a tool that reduces the chance of injury, and that tradesperson comes up and tells you 2 years later, like, dude, I was having carpal tunnel, and now, like, we hear it. Like, that's the beauty of it is what you guys are doing for the industry is helping change the game and challenge your competitors too, and even non-competitors that see what we're doing. Like, they want to make the industry better, and I think that's, to your point, Brett, like we say it all the time, and it probably sounds cliche, but we do see ourselves as a solution provider, and our goal every day is to make our customers' lives better.
Yeah. John, you want to ask our final question as we head out of this episode?
All right, guys. If you could have a drink with one person, who would you want that to be, and what would you drink?
Dead or alive. Does
Yep.
not have to be somebody who's still here.
Awkward silence.
I mean, I can go first.
Go first,
And
yeah.
I'm going to manipulate the question a little bit, but I was thinking about this the other day. Not necessarily having a drink with them, but I was, me and Demoit went up and saw a customer outside of Kansas City yesterday and had an amazing experience, and it really got me kind of reflecting on things. Mine would be my grandparents, and I say that collectively because that generation, they call it the greatest generation, right? But both of my dad's mom and dad were in World War II. And, my grandfather was a self-made, immigrant, if you will, that became very successful. And my other grandmother helped raise me. And I say all four of them because growing up, you don't really understand. Like, as I'm getting older, I'm 40 now, very bald and getting older. But you don't understand truly what that generation did to get us to where we're at today. And I remember them telling me stories as I was growing up and whatnot, but never really grasping the true magnitude, right? My one grandfather was a tanker, helped liberate some of the concentration camps. And at that point, that just never really sank into me. Like, it influenced me. That's part of the reason I went into the military. But to be able to pour a glass of bourbon and talk to all four of them and understand, like, their journey, our family's journey, that influence to get me to where I'm at today and what they sacrificed in order to get their kids and their grandkids the opportunity that I've had is, I could say business leader, right? I could say Steve Jobs. I could say you kind of name it, right? But that's, to me, like the connection, that personal side of things that has set up my life to be where it's at today, that I would love to pour a glass of bourbon and shoot the shit with them. So
Awesome.
I might go the cliche route, but Jeff Bezos, not now, but before Amazon really took off. And understanding the time, the effort as to what he put in and what were the sacrifices, and did he see this long-term beast of a company coming, 10, 15 years down the road, like, and what changes he implemented along the way. And because that to me really opens your eyes, as he might have not
sold books, right?
Well, yeah, like he might have not saw what the vision was today 15, 20 years ago, right? And he's just sitting in looks like a closet,
Right.
with
Yeah.
barely like a piece of paper that just said Amazon on it, and logos changed 20 times. And you just think to yourself, like, he was probably a normal guy. Anyone can do it, right? Is what efforts and what what time, challenges and sacrifices he had to do to really create that organization. And I'm an old-fashioned guy with Basil, so
Okay.
My wife works for Amazon, so I'm glad he started it.
shout out.
Job security there.
Hey, Jeff, if you're listening, you can wet the beak a little bit, help me out.
I like Dan's answer though too, because I think that's Milwaukee too, right?
Yeah.
We talked about, I don't like throwing numbers out there, but we have grown in a significant way, and the only reason that we've been given that opportunity is a lot of times it's right place, right time, right people, right investment, right strategy, right vision, but it's also being opportunistic and agile and taking that opportunity when it comes and going full steam ahead, not just, dancing around, but getting in there. So I like that answer from Dan.
Yeah. I like the drink choice as well. Both well
Yeah.
done on the.
I went,
Straight.
I went straight
Yeah.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Dan, that's a little.
Puts hair on your chest.
Awesome. Well, we thank you guys truly for sitting down and chatting with us today.
I'm ready for round two.
I am
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, all right.
Maybe there'll be a
We'll
bourbon
schedule.
involved there
Yeah,
too.
it should be.
Send the
So-
pack out.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll hopefully to be continued, and hopefully the rest of this show is a positive, good one for everybody, and we're appreciative of ISE letting us get set up here and getting this done. So thanks and
Yep.
safe travels to
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
Yep.
you guys.